Governments around the world are not ready for Gen Z protests. And here's why. This week, there's been even more. In Madagascar, following several days of major nationwide Gen Z protests, the country's president conceded and was forced to dissolve the government. In his address to the country, he added that he now wants to hold talks with young people who are demanding an end to the constant water and power cuts. Happening at the same time in Morocco, protests, largely organized by a group called Gen Z 212, have rocked the country for a fourth consecutive night. The anonymous group have used apps like TikTok, Discord, and Instagram to gather support and are demanding reforms to hospitals and schools which they claim are being neglected by the government, all while billions are flowing into preparing to host the World Cup in 2030. But the protests in Morocco and Madagascar follow the rise of Gen Z protests before them in countries like Nepal, Kenya, Indonesia, the Philippines, and many more. And they all serve as proof that Gen Z are now fully here. A new generation is now actively shaping political and social discourse. But Gen Z have a powerful tool that many generations before them didn't have: social media. Millions can now organize and rally around a cause faster than we have ever seen before. And not only that, but because of its global reach, these youth-led movements are learning from one another. Many around the world share similarities in strategies like decentralized leadership, the rapid circulation of digital content, and now even the use of shared cultural symbols. The thing is, it's only just begun.
Salam guys, protests in Madagascar inspired by Kenyan Gen Z. And guess what the soldiers did? They refused the shoot to kill orders. And guess what they did? They supported the protesters and then guarded them into the city square in Antananarivo for the first time since this protest started about a month ago. And guess what the Prime Minister is saying? The Prime Minister is now urging for dialogue and unity. Where this wave is sweeping across Africa. We started it in Kenya, the Gen Zs in Kenya. No, I'm not a Gen Z, but I believe the Gen Zs in Kenya watakuwa wa mwisho. Wao ndo wataweka full stop kwa sababu hapa tunasema one time.
This what happened in Madagascar on September 26th. So for years, even decades now, the Malagasy people have been experiencing a whole bunch of power cuts and water shortages. I know this myself because when I live in Madagascar, I used to go whole mornings or afternoons without electricity and sometimes whole weekends without running water. Now, being tired of this, the youth, the civil rights groups and students decided to plan a peaceful protest in Madagascar's capital, Antananarivo. Now, the plan was to gather together with their homemade posters and banners and to simply ask for their basic human rights. This was done in a very peaceful manner. However, they were met with hundreds of policemen in town who used tear gas and rubber bullets against them, which turned things very violent, harming many protesters. Meanwhile, some people decided to take advantage of the situation to vandalize and loot shops, malls, and restaurants, damaging many businesses. Many noticed that the policemen did nothing to stop this, and this fueled suspicion among the population that the government was allowing this violence to discredit the peaceful protests. Now, for my own safety, I will not be agreeing nor disagreeing with these suspicions, but the truth is clear. The Malagasy people are denied of our human rights, which are water and electricity, and the youth peacefully asked for these human rights, and they were met with violence. So if you want to support us, you can follow at Gen_Z_Madagascar on Instagram. There are also many other TikTok pages that are posting updates on this. You can interact on this video and other types of videos speaking up on this topic so that more people can see. The people that are speaking out against this, especially the Malagasys, myself included, are quite literally putting themselves in danger. So I would appreciate all the support that you can give us. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, it's Leek. Welcome back to the Leaker's Take. Today we are talking about something huge happening right now in Madagascar. Gen Z, the young people, have actually forced their president flee the country, like he literally left on the French military plane. Wow. The military is now standing with the people. Crazy. This is weird. And honestly, it shows how and what happened when generation gets tired of corruption and broken promises. Wow. Let's watch some of the clips and talk about how it all went down.
African youth continue to fight government corruption, and in Madagascar, the Gen Z revolution there is reportedly being backed by the country's military. And the current president, he got on the first military flight out of Madagascar to go into apparent self-imposed exile in France. He would rather live like a mole in self-imposed exile than face the Malagasy youth, than face the Malagasy military who brought him to power. The cowardice, the lack of testicular fortitude, this is the kind of leadership that most of us Africans deal with. Madagascar is a beautiful island nation, the largest one in Africa. It is home to about 30 million people. It is world renowned for its biodiversity. It is also extremely mineral wealthy. Madagascar is a former French colony, and that information is pertinent, very significant in this case, because we know that the French want to hold their power over African countries. They were thrown out of the Sahel. They are being treated like pariahs all around West Africa, and now they want to maintain a stranglehold wherever they can. And Madagascar is one of those places. Now, Madagascar is strategically located on the Indian Ocean. This maritime positioning is very important for trade, for defense. It is geopolitically, it is ideal. And now the French, as usual, have a lot of corporate interests in this country. And this current president, he was a French stooge, obviously, because after the Gen Z revolution happened there, where the protesters were protesting chronic power shortages, chronic water shortages, the national energy company known as Jirama, I would urge you to go and look up who the CEO is and look at his history. You will find that these people are all acting in service to the same master, and that is not the African people, that is not the African youth. Bravo to the Malagasy military for acting with such moral clarity. Thank you for standing with African youth. Thank you for standing with the African continent's future. Our voices are important. Our voices matter more than French corporate interests on the continent, more than imperial corporate interests on the continent. We deserve to live good lives today, right now. Thank you to the people of Madagascar for holding the line.
Do you know that military has taken over in Madagascar? A coup d'etat has been recorded in Madagascar due to the protest, the Gen Z protests happening in Madagascar. This Gen Z protest was due to shortage of water and power, which these guys have been suffering for in Madagascar. Why the politicians are lavishing their resources, living an extravagant life, why the citizens are suffering. And the previous Nepal Gen Z protest now inspired these guys to go on the street and fight for their rights. Then the president ordered the police to shoot aside. And on this process, about 20 of these Gen Zs who were protesting were taken down. They were unalived. This instigated this protest to get to the next level, where the president even ordered the military to go out there and control this protest. And before you could know it, the military said that they are joining the youth on that protest. And these guys went out in their masses, in their numbers, to protest with these guys. And on the process, Colonel Mikel then took over the power, and this was announced officially why the president fled the country into France. Guys, what is really happening in Africa?
Arrests on the streets of Madagascar. At least 22 killed in anti-government protests, according to the UN. And 100 reported injured in clashes with security forces, all figures disputed by the country's government. Gen Z accused those in power of failing to manage basic resources, blaming it for the economy and widespread poverty. And now, after weeks of protests, thousands, many of them students, gathered, calling for the president to step down, this time joined by part of the military. President Rajoelina was supposed to address the nation yesterday. Instead, he'd fled for his life. Reuters reporting he'd been flown out of the capital on a French military aircraft. It's not known where he is, but he put this on a Facebook live stream.
We have all seen that the crises that have occurred in the country have led to ruin and recession. There have been real plans since the 25th of September for a coup and assassination attempt against me.
On the streets of Antananarivo, they celebrated his departure, but also said accountability was key.
The evacuation of Rajoel was an act of interference by France in Madagascar. Why? Well, because it wasn't a coup d'etat. It was just a call from the people, a call for freedom of expression.
Une liberté d'expression. Après ce qu'il a fait, je pense qu'il est préférable pour lui.
After what he did, I think it's best for him to leave Madagascar. But we're not going to let him go just like that. He has to be held accountable.
Il faut qu'il rende compte.
Rajoel formed a political party back in 2007, presenting a campaign for youth-led politics after violent anti-government protests. After a coup, he was declared president in March 2009, at age 35, the youngest in the country's history. Ironically, it's now soldiers from an elite unit, CAPSAT, which helped him seize power in that coup, which are calling on troops to support protesters now. Last week he dismissed his cabinet and appointed a new prime minister, and confirmed today he's dissolved the National Assembly. And Radio France Internationale reporting that in leaving the former French colony, he'd also struck a deal with President Emmanuel Macron.
There is a lot of admiration and affection for a youth that has spoken out, that is politicized, that wants to live better, and that is a very good thing. They simply cannot be co-opted by military factions or foreign interference.
The anger, mostly from Gen Z, mirrors recent demonstrations in countries including Morocco, Nepal and Kenya against ruling elites, often using the skull and straw hat symbol from the Japanese manga series One Piece. For a digitally native generation, social media and the internet has been a driving force. The number of followers on this account alone doubling in the last 3 weeks. Many flights to Madagascar have been suspended while the turmoil continues, and security forces are working to maintain order. But many here see this as almost a second independence, and they will not give that up quietly.
So here it's what pushed Gen Z to the street. No water, no electricity, no jobs. Imagine trying to study or even learning a small business, as young generation, when the power keeps carrying out. Every night these students started peacefully protest. Then the crowds grow. And what happened? You know what's crazy part? The part of military actually joined them instead of turning against them. So that moment changed everything. Imagine. Wow. Bro, when the soldier joined the march, the president knew it was over. He was supposed to give a speech, but people received reports saying that president flew on French plane. Now the military are saying they are in control until the elections happen. Wow, that was amazing. You can feel how tired people are. They just want the lights, water and jobs. The basic, it's not even about politics anymore. It is about survive. I still have another one. Let's watch them. I'll come back with a comment.
Is history repeating itself in Madagascar because the current president, President Rajoelina, actually got into power during a similar political crisis in 2009? But what's happening at the moment? Let's talk about it. So there's an ongoing protest in Madagascar. It started on 25th September. The issue at the time that people were protesting about was power and water cuts. But it grew into a bigger issue: high unemployment, corruption, and the cost of living crisis. You see, Madagascar is one of the poorest countries in the world. In fact, 75% of people in the country live below the poverty line. You know who else also joined the Gen Z protests in Madagascar? An army unit called CAPSAT. It's actually an elite army unit that's quite powerful in Madagascar and has played a very big role when it comes to political crisis in the country. Of course, civil societies and trade unions have also joined the protests. So what happened in 2009 that relates to now? Let me take you back a bit. You see that army unit that I talked about, CAPSAT, it actually plays a big role in putting President Rajoelina in power. You see, in 2009, President Rajoelina was actually the mayor of Antananarivo, but he was a serious and fierce critic of the then President Marc Ravalomanana. So Rajoelina is backed by the CAPSAT army unit, and he comes in as the president for 4 years, leaves power, comes back in 2018, and again he's re-elected in 2023. But clearly the people of Madagascar are not happy with its rule. 16 years later, the same thing is happening in Madagascar again. President Rajoelina is said to have fled to a safe place. President Rajoelina is now calling on his people to have dialogue and that he'll make things better in the country. But people don't want to hear any of it, especially the Gen Zs. They want him out. So there's a lot of uncertainty happening in the country right now. The political climate is quite fragile. But what do you think of what's happening in the country? What do you think President Rajoelina should do? Please let me know in the comment section below.
Major breaking news. They were right. The Gen Zs of Madagascar, they were right this whole time. They said that this president, he's working to benefit the French. Well, turns out the French, they are now helping him escape Madagascar. Can you believe this? The Gen Zs, they said that this man, he is not helping us at all. There's no electricity. There's no water. He's just selling the scattered islands, which are located in Madagascar, to the French. He's not helping us at all. Well, this president, he thought that if he dissolved the government, the protest would stop. Well, they did not stop. He also thought that if the army general was on his side, the army would be on his side. So he made the army general the new prime minister. Well, guess what? The army, they turned on him. The elite army unit, they decided to go to side with the Gen Zs. So they went and they said, you must step down. Well, this guy, he decided to run away. But he had some help from his friend, the French president, Macron. Can you believe this? He was selling his own country. This president seriously thought that if he kept quiet long enough, people would keep quiet. People would forget it and move on. But he forgot one thing. This is not the previous generation. This generation, they're asking for accountability. They're asking to see results. They're denying all this corruption that is going on in Africa. They're deciding to shape Africa the way they want it to be. So the Gen Zs of Madagascar and the army, they're telling the president, you can run, but you cannot hide. You must step down.
More update, guys, about the military takeover in Madagascar. Now, this group of elite military who took over power in Madagascar are very well known as the CAPSAT. These are the same group of military elite who helped President Rajoelina into office in 2019. Since after this man became president, the country started experiencing a serious setback in the economy, high inflation, water shortage, electricity shut down, and a whole lot of corruption cases which has been going on, while the people in power continues to enjoy themselves and disregard whatever complaints the people are giving over the country's well-being. The Gen Zs, which are mainly comprises of the university students and other youth, went on the street to protest against this man, demanding that he must come out and apologize to the country, resign, and also dissolve the Senate committee in the country. And this man insisted on running the governance without even looking at the plight of the youth. And it's very much obvious that this man is very much influenced by the France government. Now, he ordered the police to go and take over the street and control the situation. About 30 Gen Z protesters were taken down in that shooter site. They were all alive. Now, this provoked these guys, which led to the next level of this protest in Madagascar, thereby putting so much pressure on the president of Madagascar to resign his office. And this man said that he could not achieve this through the police. He then ordered the military, the same people who helped him into office, to go and control that situation. Some set of the CAPSAT military elite broke out of the major group, thereby working against the government and stopped taking order from the government. This set of CAPSAT group started to switch side and started working with the youth. This set of military elites who decided to join the youth in this protest made an official announcement saying that all use of force and any improper behavior towards our fellow citizens are highly prohibited, as the gendarmerie is a force meant to protect people and not to defend the interests of a few individuals. This was the very first announcement made by the military in support of the protesters on the streets, which changed the whole game against the sitting government, which led this man to even fled out of the country into France. And immediately this man fled out of the country, the military group who took over banned any kind of a France airline into the country or out of the country. Guys, do you think this is a welcome development in another African country, Madagascar?
Madagascar Gen Z are saying Kenya is the source of inspiration for their protests. The Gen Zs are saying that they don't want the shortage of electricity and water, and they have been encouraged by Gen Zs from Peru, from Nepal, and from Kenyans. Looks like the Gen Zs nowadays are taking over the nation. Kudos to the Gen Zs in every country that are trying to take over what belongs to them.
So, yeah, the president has gone. But the real question is, what comes next? Can they cover their stolen money? Will the military actually hand power bank to the people? Gen Z started this movement, now they have got to make sure it doesn't end with another dictator in uniform. Really. Anyway, that's my take. I'm Rick, and this is Rika's take. Let's know what you think in the comment, guys. Is it the right start or of real revolution, or it's just another power shuffle? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We've got more global story coming up soon. Thank you, guys. I love you.